Ladies and gentlemen, how do you think Democrats and media are going to react when President Trump runs again in 2024 and Republicans pass legislation that in the minds of Democrats makes it more difficult to vote? The other side of the equation is that there's greater integrity. You're talking about a political side that said Bernie Sanders was given a fair and neutral primary in 2016. The New York mayoral contest was a joke. That was almost a 2016 DNC primary. Bernie Sanders last year in Iowa got cheated with the use of an app designed by former Clinton campaign officials. They could have simply used a calculator. It's not that difficult. They can't even run a functioning primary. So if you have Trump running in 2024 and you have Republicans who rally around President Trump and believe all his lies and his misinformation and deceit, and they pass legislation that's perfectly legal and constitutional and doesn't infringe upon the 1965 Voting Rights Act, which is what the Supreme Court ruled a couple of months back. Georgia's laws are constitutional. What do you think's going to happen? How do you think media and Democrats are going to react? How do you think media and Democrats are going to react to President Trump? Let me see. Can you hear me, ladies and gentlemen? Because, okay, good. In the comments section, let me know. To my super chat, I can't do this without you, ladies and gentlemen. Dominic, thank you so very, very much. Caroline, hello. Eric, H526, Luke St. Martin, the two best moderators in all of YouTube. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, to my super chat, I cannot do this without you. Thank you so very much. And if you want to comment on Trump in 2024 or any topic, there's going to be a stock market crash. So subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel, my other channel, which is doing very well. Democrats tanked the economy last year in the most irrational, apoplectic, hysterical, paranoid response to a serious crisis. Now, $1 out of every $5 has been essentially created through the quantitative easing by the Federal Reserve, and you have a situation where there's runaway inflation, a stock market that has the highest margin debt of all time, the Consumer Price Index, the Producer Price Index, the Baltic Dry Shipping Index, other shipping indexes are at record highs not seen since 2008, and you have a situation where we're heading towards either a financial collapse from the stock market crash or definitely a stock market crash. And perhaps a crash in other asset classes as well. But hit subscribe to this channel. Tell your friends about this channel. And hit subscribe also to the Stock Market Crash channel. The link will be below in the description section. And to my super chat, thank you. I can't do this without you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to read you Trump hints at another White House run as he heads to Georgia rally. So there was the Georgia rally. I don't know if you, let's see if on YouTube we can, let's see. So that's a New York Post article. And 3 hours ago, Herschel Walker speaks at Save America Trump rally in Perry, Georgia. Love Herschel Walker. I hope he becomes the next senator in Georgia. Love Herschel Walker. Herschel Walker, Donald Trump. These people don't need politics. They're already extremely wealthy, and there's something to be said about, like, Michael Bloomberg is wealthy also, but he plays ball with the Democratic Party. He's a lifelong New York Democrat. So Tammany Hall, if Tammany Hall has politicians who became wealthy before they became politicians, they're still part of the New York Democratic Tammany Hall apparatus. Herschel Walker is not part of the Georgia Republican Party, framework. So Trump is not part of the traditional Republican Party. That's a very, very good thing. That's an excellent thing. You need people who are independent of political parties. Trump is independent of the Republican Party. The Republican Party needs Trump. Trump doesn't need the Republican Party. In fact, the GOP investigated a Republican president for 4 years. Then they wonder why they lost in Arizona and Georgia. Because they investigated Trump for 4 years. They did this to themselves. You can't investigate an incoming Republican president and side with Democrats and then complain when you lose key Senate races in Georgia and Arizona. You can't go ahead and blame Trump for what Republicans did by siding with, you can look at Richard Burr or McCain or Paul Ryan, they sided with intelligence agencies because they didn't like Trump. And they wanted to keep him at bay because he was bad for the racket. The Lincoln Project people are Republicans, Bush-era neoconservatives who jumped from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party for a reason. Okay? The headline is absolutely true. He will run, and he's essentially begun the campaign for 2024. It's absolutely true. If you think that Trump is not running, if you think that Trump is not going to run and going to endorse, Mitt Romney, then that's your opinion. I respectfully disagree. My God. Trump hints at another White House run as he heads to Georgia rally. Yes, the headline was so terrible. Only a bad call from a doctor could derail another bid for the White House, the former President Trump said, tiptoeing even closer to announcing his third presidential campaign. So he's essentially already begun the campaign. My God. Yes, technically, the headline might be construed as not having happened, but if you actually look at it from the perspective of how politics works, yes, the headline is quite accurate. You think that he's not beginning? You think that he's in Georgia for what purpose? To help Marco Rubio or Ted Cruz run for president? No. The suggestion came on Friday in a radio show when the host noted Trump has shied away from. I'll ask you in a different way. Can you think of a reason not to run? Well, I guess a bad call from a doctor or something, right? Trump responded. I will say that happens with people. Okay, so if he doesn't get a bad call from a doctor, if he doesn't get a bad call from a doctor, yeah, but he doesn't have to say I am running for president. I cannot do a Trump. I could do so many others, but I can't do a Trump. He doesn't have to say that categorically, like right this second. He is definitely going to run. The GOP has nobody else aside from DeSantis. DeSantis is the only person who could possibly, he could win the whole thing if Trump, heaven forbid, couldn't run. And Republicans, you can't have the same protocols. You just can't have the same protocols. Even though everything was fair and beyond fair. Oh my God, it was fair and square. Democrats won in a completely legitimate manner. Okay? Definitely not like 2016 with Bernie Sanders. Totally different. But you can't have election night turn into election month. That can't happen. Okay? If Democrats say, well, you're preventing people from voting, you're not preventing anybody from voting. People can, there's early voting available in Georgia. Nobody, absolutely not one person on the planet or not one person in Georgia is prevented from voting. The Supreme Court upheld the Georgia voting laws. This is a fact. So you have Democrats who keep saying that, well, you're preventing people from voting. President Trump got a greater percentage of the non-white vote. He got a greater percentage of the non-white vote than any president in 60 years. Okay? One rebuttal is, well, George W. Bush. They say George W. Bush got a greater percentage. Well, 95% of the media wasn't against Bush. In fact, media sided with Bush. So, you have to take things into context. You have to take things into context. If you can't take things into context and look at Trump, like when people say, like, oh, I didn't vote for Trump, he doesn't represent my values, or he don't like his personality. Media shapes a politician's personality, or helps shape media coverage. If the media wants to tarnish and disparage you and undermine your political run or your ideas or who you are, they'll do so. A large number of people will believe anything media says. Anything. It doesn't matter if it's logical or not. Half the country will just blindly believe anything the media says. They won't think about the lies by omission. They won't think about the distorted coverage. They won't think about why Hunter Biden's email story the Twitter suspended the New York Post because the laptop belonging to Hunter Biden was, of course, legitimate and incredibly incriminating for his father and himself. Nobody will ask, well, they'll keep hope alive and say, well, the emails could have been doctored. Well, then why didn't Biden or Hunter say the emails were doctored? They kept plausible deniability alive because they know they can get every benefit of the doubt from media, while Democrats and media will obsess over a Steele dossier. That is a compilation of lies and gossip. They'll actively try to find evidence to support lies and baseless claims. So the baseless claims come first with the Steele dossier. The baseless claims come first, then it's, let's try to defend the baseless claims. So the Steele dossier comes out, it's completely baseless, but BuzzFeed says, let's go ahead and let's first let's first go ahead and introduce the nonsense. Let's introduce the nonsense to the world. Okay? Let's first report on what Trump could have done based on anonymous sources. So, the problem is that nobody trusts media now. And nobody trusts media You have people like Chris Cuomo who are essentially going to resign. And you have a crisis now in terms of media becoming an extension of the Democratic Party. Media is an extension of the Democratic Party. Everybody knows this. You don't have anyone in any major newspaper voting for President Trump, or any major CNN, MSNBC. Like, you might have people at Fox voting for Biden. You will not have anyone at MSNBC or CNN publicly state at the cafeteria or at the board meeting, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. That is not happening. That ain't happening. That simply will not happen. So, you have a situation where the Republicans have nobody else. Absolutely nobody else. And if President Trump doesn't run, you will have easily 8 years of Biden or Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris could take over for Biden. I think that's probably going to happen. And let's look here. Let's read this. Only a bad call from a doctor could derail another bid for the White House. Former President Trump says, tiptoeing even closer to announcing his third presidential campaign. The suggestion came Friday in a radio interview when the host noted Trump has shied away from formally announcing his widely anticipated run. I'll ask you a different way. Can you think of a reason not to run? Well, I guess a bad call from a doctor or something, right? Trump responded, I will say that happens with people. Trump, now 75, is the oldest president ever to take an oath of office when he was okay. So things happen, though through God they happen. But I feel so good, and I don't like what's happening to our country. So the man's running. He's going to run again. Georgia is essentially the beginning of Trump's 2024 campaign. He's going to run again. Media couldn't stop him. Democrats, intel agencies. I mean, he's like this character in a Charles Bronson movie or a Chuck Norris movie. They cannot get the man. They can't get him no matter what. They've tried to investigate him. What they do is they investigate him so their crimes aren't investigated and their sins and misdeeds and corruption is always viewed within the context of, oh, Trump is worse. So they're investigating the Georgia call. They're investigating everything. They can't stand him. And the question is, how are they going to react the second time around? Because a lot of the slings and arrows that have been leveled at Trump, you have to understand that the credibility of media and Democrats is already non-existent. They keep on accusing Trump Of financial crimes, they can't indict him or charge him. Of January, they can't indict or charge him. Of working with Russia, they can't indict him or charge him. Of pressuring Zelensky, they can't indict him or charge him. They can't take him directly to a court of law, so they have to find some public relations victory in tormenting everyone around him. So they find some technicality that they could easily go after a whole bunch of Democrats on. I mean, you look at with the Durham probe. Durham probe has zero media support, not much support from Republicans, and zero support from Democrats. Durham's already indicted 2 attorneys. Okay? Could you imagine if there was widespread media support for the Durham probe? He has no support at all, and he's already indicted 2 people. No support at all. And so, it's like you look, ladies and gentlemen, at how much he's overcome. It's pretty amazing. There's very few people on the planet who could have withstood that onslaught of media. Very few people on the planet. He can't. I think one thing about President Trump, he cannot, no matter what, get on social media. He can't get on social media again. So, if he gets on social media, and this is the thing, I keep telling people, it's like, I say, well, he has to just be a little bit more diplomatic. Like, no, I like Trump. I like Trump the way. Yeah, you like Trump. You like Trump the way he is. Yes, you, but you're not an independent voter necessarily. You're going to vote for President Trump. You're not going to vote for Biden or Kamala Harris. You're not going to. I think that this time around, he has to speak to the independents. And independents are leaving Biden. Like, he's lost a tremendous amount of support among independents. So, they're leaving him. And, I mean, they just don't want anything to do with him. They know, if you are not a lifelong Democrat and vote blue no matter who, there's no reason to vote. There's no reason to even vote again for Biden if you voted for him once. The economy is not rebounding in the way that it should. The economy is not rebounding. You have a stock market crash for a number of reasons that's looming, an impending crash that Lord knows, like, how on earth are they going to rebound from that? The Afghanistan evacuation showed the world that Biden has zero vision, zero leadership skills, and simply wanted to spite Trump because he didn't want to abide by the Doha Agreement, so he just said, okay, you know what, we'll leave, we'll pick an arbitrary date after May 1st. The Doha Agreement stated leave by May 1st. Nobody knows why Biden didn't leave by May 1st. Nobody. It was an agreement signed by the United States of America and the adversaries in the country. And instead of simply leaving and doing it by the agreement, we had to use, or Biden had to use, the T-ban. We'll call them the T-ban as security. That is exactly why 13 Americans lost their lives. The Biden administration literally utilized the same people who are either aligned with, or maybe the T-ban was a part directly of the operation, the same people who took the lives of 13 Americans and 169 Afghans. The Biden literally used them as security to vet people. Why on earth would you do that? Could you imagine 20 years ago, Americans saying, oh, we're going to use the T-ban to help us evacuate, to vet America, giving them a list of names? That would never happen. That would never happen. That is the most illogical, irrational, stupidest thing you could ever do. And Biden's administration did it. Blinken did it, and Biden did it. And that picture of him with his head down, that is the picture of his entire presidency. We have a problem, a crisis. We have a crisis after crisis. And he's not addressing the issues that got people so outraged pertaining to Trump. It's actually gotten worse. Like every issue, every little pet project or pet issue, I say pet issue because like every little like moment of outrage when it came to a topic that Democrats didn't care about with President Obama, but then suddenly cared about with Trump, but then didn't care about at all with Biden. Every topic that they pretended to care about, they don't care about now. Oh, and by the way, look whose voices they're silencing. Democrats. Good, morally superior liberal Democrats. Very diverse voices on numerous subjects. It could be Larry Elder. It could be Nicki Minaj. It could be anybody. Any person of color that doesn't abide by the Democratic Party narrative or media narrative, media goes after. Look what the Los Angeles Times did to Larry Elder. It's pretty unbelievable. Look what journalists, quote unquote, tried to do to Nicki Minaj. So, Eric, thank you. Oh, Luke, thank you. But like, it'll be interesting. I think that if he just plays it right, President Trump does not have to do much now. He can win in 2024. He doesn't have to do much. Republicans have to pass legislation to make sure election night doesn't turn into election month. Not that there was anything wrong with last election. It was perfectly fair and balanced and neutral, fair and neutral, just like Debbie Wasserman Schultz said. It was perfectly fine. Not saying that there were any issues. But you have this, like, the Hill, Trump stokes GOP tensions in Georgia. What is it? Everything's so dramatic. He stokes tension. He stoked tension. What does it even mean? Democrats don't have any energy or enthusiasm within their political party. They have every conceivable advantage. Republicans have no advantages in terms of media or anything else, but they have Trump, and they have people like DeSantis, Devin Nunes, Rand Paul. The ideas themselves are exciting ideas. Fighting back against or opposing groupthink and a fabricated consensus of experts that are usually wrong. When we have a financial crisis and a stock market crash, it will be because of Democrats and media who tanked the economy. That's the issue. Democrats and experts. Then the Fed pumped $1 out of every $5 into the economy. That's why we're going to have a crash. The experts, quote unquote, were wrong. The experts were dreadfully wrong. The response The response. The response to a serious public health crisis, okay, was completely irrational, irresponsible. It was based on just simply a paranoid. Lindsey Graham, I'm not saying that I'm so happy that Lindsey Graham is, I'm not saying that I'm ecstatic that Lindsey Graham is backing Trump. I think it's good. I think it's amusing, though. I understand that Lindsey Graham is like, in between the Never Trumper crowd and supporting President Trump. He supports Trump more so than, but he tries to play ball with the machine and Democrats and media. I understand that, but he said he thinks it's good. Graham says he hopes that Trump runs again. So, U.S. Senator Lindsey Graham, I hope Trump runs again. So, he's essentially endorsed President Trump, which I think is good. I think that's very good. Because the establishment Republicans really respect Lindsey Graham. So, and Mitch McConnell, Luke, thank you. Mitch McConnell, he'll go where. No, and I agree. I'm not enamored with Lindsey Graham. I'm just saying that it's a good thing. It's actually a different. At this point, last election or in 2015, Lindsey Graham was a direct rival of Trump. Now he's backing Trump. So I think it's kind of interesting. I think it's kind of interesting. I do think it is kind of interesting. Luke St. Martin, thank you. Eric H526, thank you. Look at the difference. Look at the difference between 2015, 2016, and today. Hold on one second, everybody. Look at the difference, ladies and gentlemen, between 2015, 2016, and today. 2015, 2016, you had President Trump running against an entire. You had Jeb Bush, you had Lindsey Graham, you had Marco Rubio. You had the entire Republican Party pretty much leveled against Trump, and it took him like a month, 2 months to just take over the entire Republican Party. And they couldn't cheat him. That's different between Bernie Sanders. That's one of the primary differences between Bernie Sanders and Trump. Both were like insurgent candidates, had campaigns that their political parties hadn't really seen before. Populist campaigns. It's so funny when you have Democrats. I hear them like they have this thing against populism, which is really funny because that's the only ideal that generates enthusiasm, whether it's left or right. You want to make sure that the average American is treated with respect or dignity and is given a chance to so they can a chance that where they can feed their families and prosper and become wealthy, happy, successful. You don't want the establishment, whether it's left or right, to start never-ending wars and regime changes that are always failed endeavors. That's one difference. In terms of foreign policy, that's one difference. And then the rebuttal is, well, that's an isolationist mentality. No, it's not an isolationist mentality not to engage in failed military endeavors. That's not, or regime changes. Look at Libya. But they don't care. Like, if you asked Bill Kristol or Max Boot, who both backed Libya and backed Iraq and Afghanistan and didn't want us to withdraw, every single foreign policy prediction or call that they've made has been wrong for the past 20 years. Bill Kristol and another conservative Republican or neoconservative in the late 90s they were calling for regime change in Iraq during the Clinton administration. Okay? They were wrong then, they're wrong now, and in between they pushed for interventions everywhere, and it never worked out. Libya with Assad, whatever they pushed for or advocated never worked out. There are now people being bought and sold. Human beings being bought and sold. And they simply evade any direct responsibility. Like, they think that Trump and Facebook ads, that they think that's national security. Their idea of national security is whatever suits the Democratic Party. That's it. It's whatever suits the Democratic Party. That's what national security is. That's why when you had a real national security issue, when you had a serious national security issue, like what happened in Afghanistan, a serious national security issue, they didn't go ahead and plan everything correctly. They didn't go ahead and plan everything. They didn't have any vision. They didn't have any strategy. It was simply spite Trump. Whatever you do, just spite Trump. And ladies and gentlemen, the issue with Lindsey Graham is again, it's a good thing. Is it not a good thing that he's backing Trump? If it's a bad thing that, so you have, there are people loyal to President Trump who always back him. That's good. Just like there are people who are loyal, the entire Democratic Party walks in lockstep. But it's a good thing that Lindsey Graham, that's why I added it. I don't know why there's an issue here with I don't know why there's an issue with with the name Lindsey Graham here. I'll just remove it. I removed Lindsey Graham. Trump begins 2024 presidential campaign in Georgia. Here, no more Lindsey Graham. How's that? My God Almighty. Here, Graham maintained close relationship. Here, I just removed that from the description. There you go. You know what? This news broke. Lindsey Graham opposes Trump. How's that? Is that good? This is fantastic news. Dun 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 dun. Lindsey Graham does everything possible to oppose Trump and will never ever accept a Trump presidency. There you go. But I agree. He's not a good dude. I agree. But the interesting thing about him is that he plays like he has one foot in one camp, another foot in another camp. So it's like, I understand there's duplicity there, but see, again, politicians are duplicitous. That's one thing Trump, if President Trump could find a way other than, and I think that he's kind of doing that, but if he could find a way other than this bulldozer sledgehammer mentality in trying to get people to back his side. And I guess from his perspective, he probably doesn't have to. From his perspective, he probably doesn't think that he really needs to try to convince anybody. He probably thinks that he's probably right in saying the politicians who will gravitate towards his ideology or his populist viewpoints, which are infinitely better than the centrist Democratic or Republican viewpoints on a lot of things. The establishment viewpoint on everything from economics to foreign policy has been absolutely horrendous. This is the establishment viewpoint, the experts in the room, will get us into a stock market crash that we haven't seen since '08, and will continue the failed, if they could. If it wasn't the populists, mainly on the right, but also perhaps also on the left, saying no more interventions and regime changes, they would be at it again. They fall upwards. The establishment is wrong all the time. All the time. They just have media covering up for them. So, there were scandals and controversies all throughout President Obama's administration. A Secret Service scandal that if it happened under Trump, they would, oh my God, you'd get the televangelists, all the immorality, oh my God. During President Obama's administration, there was a scandal where the Secret Service in one country didn't pay people who were working in the evening, performing, certain tasks, of a romantic nature, the oldest profession in the world, and so they didn't pay them. Okay? The Secret Service, and that was during President Obama's administration. If it was Trump, oh my God, this is an example of his immorality. They wouldn't stop. Just like with Hunter Biden. If you had Donald Trump Jr., you type in Hunter Biden photos on Google, what do you even get? Oh, you just you get some photos of him in the bathtub or whatever, but it's like you don't, there's no hysteria behind it. It's complete. You don't even get all the photos. Okay? And that's fine. If you're going to cover for Hunter Biden, then also cover for Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. But there was more. They would never do that. There was more attention paid to like Eric Trump and Donald Trump Jr. on a hunting trip. On a hunting trip. Than all of the videos and salacious photos from Hunter Biden. I'm not interested in seeing these salacious photos. It doesn't although I've seen some. He's an interesting photographer. But it's not like, that doesn't thrill me. The issue is they actively suppress. They work very, very hard to suppress and to protect one political side. And everybody knows this. And that's the problem with media today. Everybody knows this. Sky Queen, hello. Everybody knows that they're protecting one political side. And it's like they're protecting one political side all the time. Social media algorithms. Like, you have to watch what you say all the time. Because the social media companies are run by lifelong Democrats. They're very, if there's a person who voted for Trump, that person, no matter how wealthy or successful or powerful the person is not telling anybody. Like, think about how weak the Democratic Party is when they have every possible advantage, including this paranoid cult-like groupthink that says, I'm going to disown friends and marginalize and shame people who vote for Trump. And still half the country votes for Trump. I mean, this is the height of their power, the Democratic Party. They have social media algorithms. They have, Twitter, all of late night, even Major League Baseball. They have the House, the Senate, the presidency. This is the height of their political power. They're not going to get any stronger with the House going Trump Republican in 2022. And they're not going to get any stronger with Republicans focusing on integrity bills. You can say, well, there was no need for integrity bills. Okay, but do you want election night to turn into election month? That doesn't make any sense. And the only reason that happened was because of the very serious health crisis that we had, where they pretty much telegraphed, well, Orange Menace might be up, but you wait. So this is a political side that has every advantage now. They're not always going to have every single advantage. There's going to be a time, we might see it. We might see a time where Trump is reelected and has the House and the Senate, and media slowly gravitates towards him. And you're going to see, could you imagine that time? Could you imagine that time? You still wouldn't have the Washington Post or New York Times, but you still wouldn't have CNN, but you could probably have other publications that, or maybe you'd see more like the Washington Post before the New York Times. You see more articles. You know what? Trump's going to do a great job. And then you'd get you see what they did with the authoritarian. The meltdown if he wins again would be so beautiful. The meltdown. I don't want to see. I don't enjoy anyone suffering, but at the same time, if you're suffering because your political opponent won, you need more, reprioritize your life. I love Herschel Walker. I think he's fantastic. I think Herschel Walker is fantastic. But see, again, they've tried every possible way to get rid of Trump. They can't. All Trump has to do is watch Biden and VP Harris continue to govern in the manner, well, Harris, nobody knows where she is or what she's doing, or very rarely does she make an appearance. Very rarely does Biden, and when he does, they pull his microphone. But it's not going to be that difficult. It really will not be that difficult. Then you're going to get investigations into Hunter Biden, into Afghanistan, in the evacuation, and a whole bunch of things in 2022. You will get those investigations. So, you're going to have those investigations. Like, you have to take things in the context. Politically, although the country, I believe, will face some pretty serious issues in foreign policy and economic policy because Biden is atrocious. Like, the worst president we've ever had. Easily. They say Trump, but that was everything they accused Trump of was a lie. He wasn't indicted or charged on anything. That's a fact. And if you want to say, I do agree that President Trump could have, refrained from saying certain things. That's fine. And the response from media, of course, was sensationalized. And Biden actually made worse comments, and he was forgiven immediately. I understand that game. But you also don't want to give them Florida Man Bear starting it off. Florida Man Bear, talk about advantage. I just tried to send the most that comment, and the overlords blocked me. I know. I hear you, Florida Man Bear. I hear you. Chad Davis, they wouldn't let me send the comment regarding corruption in previous administrations. Suffice to say, Oklahoma loves HA. Vets love HA. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you. I love Chad in Oklahoma. Thank you so very much. I love you guys, and I love Oklahoma. I love Barry Switzer also. I think he's fantastic. Global veterans, yes. Chad Davis, thank you for everything that you've done to help and protect and keep us safe, protect this country and keep us safe. We love you. America loves you and all the veterans and their families. The vast majority, the entire country loves our veterans. You have Democrats who, on the left, they'll say the most absurd things about the country, but they're not going anywhere. They're living in the greatest country in the world. So it's like, the hypocrisy, they can't open their mouths without being hypocritical. But Chad, thank you so very much. Florida Man Bear. And I love Oklahoma. I think, you know what? I'm a diehard USC Trojan fan, but I love the Oklahoma Sooners history. And I really, really like, as you know, Barry Switzer is awesome. I just think he's a fantastic football coach. Obviously Oklahoma and Dallas Cowboys, but I think his mentality, he's the best coach, the most positive, best mentality. That forward-thinking positivity. I love that. Actually, that was what Chad and Florida Man Bear. I was watching an interview with Barry Switzer, and I forgot who the Dallas, very famous Dallas broadcaster, who was saying this was like in the 90s, and Dale Hansen, and it's the best interview ever, because Dale Hansen was saying that there was dissension among his coaching staff. And Barry Switzer answered it, and he kept saying, and kind of like, patting Dale Hansen or punching him in the shoulder, like kind of playfully. But he kept saying, well, I think you're wrong. I don't think there's any dissension at all. In fact, I think you're making it up. It was the best exchange ever. And it wasn't like nasty either. It was because Hansen was laughing, but you could tell like media is going to make things up or fabricate things or sensationalize things. They have an agenda, and the agenda is to sell stories, to sell advertising, to make money, profit. And they make a lot of money off of despising Trump. They actually would have embraced Trump's rear end in 2014. But then they said, okay, there's more money in going after Trump. There might be a time very soon where there's more money in possibly defending President Trump. You see what happens to everybody that devotes their life to going after Trump, Chris. Cuomo, Andrew Cuomo, Juicy Smollett, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, Kevin Kleinsmith, this attorney Sussman, and the Durham probe indicted. I said Eric Schneiderman. Who else? I mean, that's 9 right there. I mean, I'm missing. Michael Avenatti, 10. So the Trump curse is real. But I'm watching this right now. I'm watching it right in front. Switzer accuses Dale of manufacturing story. But that's the way you have to, in sports, the sports writers always want to kind of manufacture or fabricate, not all of them, but a lot of them. They have, not all of them, but they have this world that they see, which isn't like practice and all the hard work and preparation and stress that comes with sports or athletics or professional sports, and they have to add a twist to it to sell the newspapers or the website or whatever. So, but it is the best way of handling everything. Chad, thank you. Florida Man Bear, thank you. I just think that if he just switches up a little bit, like I keep saying, he has to do things that he has to do things he used to do. He has to do things that he used to do, that he did in 2015. Okay? 2015, he was getting interviewed by CNN. I know you think I'm nuts. A lot of people think I'm nuts, but he has to go back to CNN and get interviewed by, I think that the pressure, and he's only human, I think the pressure got to him last year. And that's fine. And he still got 73 million Americans. Okay, he still got 73 million Americans. So when you look at well, that never happened. But guess who actually almost certainly did do that? Mashed potato brains Biden. So they say that Trump grabbed you-know-what, and it's like, well, there's no evidence of that. But there is somebody who literally says that Biden did exactly that. So, but then again, it's Democrats never believe when it's against them. Never believe. They never believe when it's against them. They never want to hear elevate voices that disagree with them. Literally every ideal that they stand for, almost every ideal, don't tell me what to do with my bodies, you better do this with your body, elevate voices of people of color, except if they disagree with us, then send journalists to try to harass them, or just write the most absurd headlines like the LA Times with Larry Elder. Democrats take suffering and they take the plight of groups, their constituents, or just anybody, and they wield this like suffering and plight and grievances to their advantage, while at the same time doing the exact opposite what people believing women. They do this except when it comes to their political, whether when it comes to them winning a political contest, they will jettison all of those lofty ideals. Especially when Joe Biden, for example, is the epitome of privilege, supremacy. Well, his son is privilege, supremacy, the crime bill, and then it's always, well, at least he's better than Republicans. Like, not really. Look at the unemployment rate now. We are in September of 2021. New Year's is around the corner. We still have high unemployment. We still have high unemployment. Thank you, Gary. Thank you. Hold on one second. I was on Larry Elder's show. I called up. This is when I was on the left, actually. I called up about 4 different times over the past 15 years. And he's awesome. He's awesome. Now I probably agree with him. If I could go back in time, I would have agreed with him or seen things differently. But I held my own. But he generally, if somebody calls up and they don't have a well thought out argument, it's game over. Ladies and gentlemen, why did Lindsey Graham get so many people upset? It's like, like, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to, you're going to have to accept that people who, like Mitch McConnell, if Mitch McConnell comes out and says, I wholeheartedly endorse Orange Man Bad. And I just want to say that I wholeheartedly stand by the 45. If I put a headline like Mitch McConnell endorses Trump, like the response I don't think should be like, what, Mitch McConnell, he stinks. He stinks, McConnell. He's not going to be loyal. It's like, well, who cares? If the best thing that could happen right now, and I know people are going to be like, you know what, I'm turning this channel off. The best thing that could happen is if Mitt Romney endorses Trump for 2024. And then, of course, you're going to say, Mitt Romney, he's never Trump. I don't trust him. It's like, well, it's politics. This is politics. It's the people. All these politicians are out for self-interest. But the interesting thing would be if Mitt Romney endorsed Trump, that would show the world that Trump is almost ready to completely take over. He's already taken over the entire Republican Party, but it's going to take till 2022. But if, let's say, Mitt Romney endorsed Trump for 2024, that would speed up the process. Eventually, you'll probably see somebody like Romney say, well, I don't like his personality, but I must say I've been looking at the stock market crash and the foreign policy debacles, and I just think that, although I might not like his personality, I'm going to have to vote for Trump. No, Mitt Romney. And then you'll get articles from, CNN, Romney was always two-faced. He was never to be trusted. All of that good press we gave him. All for naught. I mean, we were so nice to him, and look how he repays us. Like, that's what they would say. At the end of the day, the politicians are going to do what's best for their political interests. So, Andrew, I don't know. The channel, I started off as a Bernie Sanders supporter, so the channel, you sometimes get ads that are left-leaning ads. So, that's one of the main reasons sometimes you'll see, like, a left-leaning ad. But let's see. So, what is Joe Biden doing? What's he up to? Let's see. Opinion, can Joe Biden recover? New York Times, not good. When the New York Times is publishing these articles, and of course, I mean, this is within the context of like 20 brilliant articles about how great he is and how horrible Trump is, and and then of course, because they have to address reality somehow. They're like, oh, is he going to ever recover from all of this? Now there's issues with, 10 things in politics. New emails reveal Hunter Biden wanted $2 million for Libya deal. Those emails are going to be an endless stream of stories and investigations. This is the height, right now, is the height of the influence or the power that Democrats have in politics. They're not going to get more powerful from here on out. They'll very likely get less influential, less powerful. And Chrissy, hello. Thank you for watching for so long. Chrissy, thank you. So you have if you have this kind of, oh my God. I'm looking at, when you have the New York Times writing articles like, gosh, writing articles like, can he recover? And we're not even done with the first year of his presidency yet. It's not good. 2022, all of 2022 will be not if Republicans take back the House. It will be by how much, how many seats, and hopefully they take back the Senate. That would be amazing. If Republicans pass legislation like Georgia, focused on integrity, which, of course, the last election was completely full of integrity. You never had more you never saw more integrity in your life than the last election. It was completely fair. There was nothing wrong. Biden was obviously, because of, he was so eloquent and wonderful, the most popular candidate of all time. That's obvious. But if Republicans pass more laws like Georgia, they get the House and Senate, Democrats will have a very difficult time with mashed potato brains. Okay, you will look at if you can keep things to election night and not spread it out and have media say, well, just wait, and any concern or allegation or accusation, oh, that's nothing, that's wrong. See, baseless claims when it comes to Trump defeating Clinton, totally fair, totally justified to make them. And then they investigate those baseless claims. Baseless claims made against Biden, how dare you, you're a horrible person, you should never exist. So, it's like, the stock market is definitely going to crash. I've been talking about that. Definitely subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. That is right here. Stock Market Crash channel. Let me give you that one. I have a segment out today. Very good segment. You'll like it. Subscribe here. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. But definitely subscribe to the Stock Market Crash channel. It's interesting watching CNBC because CNBC is very similar. Like without CNN and MSNBC, you could see there's a lot of like malice and disingenuous discussion that they only have one purpose, and that is to prop up the Democratic Party and disparage and undermine and blame Trump and Republicans for everything. CNBC, they don't have the good thing is that it's one of the few networks. I'll give you something about the good thing about CNBC is that they actually don't talk about politics. They don't pick a political side, which is fantastic. So I actually give them that. But it's kind of like a TMZ for finance. So you listen to like Jim Cramer, for example, or you listen like last week at one point, a week and a half ago, at one point, intraday trading, the Dow was down 920 points, something like that. And then it rebounded, and then you get like the day, that night, and the day after that little correction or mini crash, you get, oh my God, is Evergrande going to be a contagion? Oh my God, you think that this could be the end of the stock market? Is there going to be a crash up ahead? Oh no. How many more Evergrandes are there in China? Oh, China, we can't, it's not a place to invest now. I mean, the government can nationalize things. Then the market goes up the next day, and it's like, some good things. The two worries we had are no longer there. Jerome Powell said the quantitative easing is going to continue, and they're not going to taper until middle of next year. So more free money. And Evergrande's going to make its interest payment on its first interest payment in a while, or this week. So that seems to be okay for now. It's like they're still on the hook and could easily default on $300 billion. Very likely will without more government help. So they're making interest payments on the bonds or the debt that they owe this week. It's like, okay. And then the Federal Reserve said they're not going to start tapering, which means they're going to continue. They're not going to stop the purchase or cut back on the purchase of government bonds and mortgage-backed securities. So Okay, but they've prolonged it. They're just prolonging the inevitable, and maybe Evergrande is also. So how on earth is that a good thing? How on earth is that a good thing? That's the thing. It's like media is so, it's like it's just tabloid journalism. I mean, they have to sell excitement. I get it. It's a roller coaster ride that they have to continue to. It's a roller coaster ride that they have to continue to sell. I get that, but you don't go from Evergrande is going to go bankrupt, $300 billion in loans. Oh my God, the stock market is going to tank. To let the good times roll again. The stock market is back on track. They're not going to stop the QE until next year. Do you see what I mean? It's like one day in media is like a year. Everything changes the next day. So, I don't know. I found that interesting. I think it's also shielding Biden or preventing Biden and Bernie Sanders and AOC and all of them, Paul Krugman and what's his name, Robert Reich and all these people. All they talk about is the billionaires, and they make these like vapid, they write these platitudes on social media, these meaningless phrases and statements. If your taxes, you were just the same as the billionaires, it's not fair. It's like, well, you have the House and Senate. Why don't you make tax reform? Go ahead and remove all those loopholes. Okay. If Bezos and others take advantage of loopholes, then remove them. Otherwise, don't complain about them. Maybe focus on regulating derivatives. Why don't they focus on regulating derivatives? There's hundreds of billions of dollars in derivatives trades that have been purchased on margin and debt. So margin is just you're borrowing money from the bank to buy stocks or the brokerage firm to buy stocks. And there's hundreds of billions of dollars in derivatives contracts that are unregulated. And there are Financial Times articles, other Bloomberg articles talking about this. When Archegos, the hedge fund that collapsed during Biden's presidency 3 or 4 months ago, it collapsed and nobody knew how much. The SEC didn't know how much debt it had. That's the issue, ladies and gentlemen. The SEC did not know how much debt it had. And so, when you don't, you have a collapse. We're on, the edge of a cliff. We're on the edge of a fiscal cliff. And they're completely oblivious. They're focused on shovel-ready jobs. It's very few people in the country are going to pick up a shovel in one of Biden's infrastructure bill projects. Relatively few people. And it's going to be, a sector, an industry, construction, that will, address a lot of these bridges and the infrastructure he's talking about. But Democrats think that Biden's going to be FDR. He couldn't be further from FDR. And the only, I don't want to say this, the only correlation will be he might cause a near depression, Biden, because he is completely oblivious to a stock market bubble, perhaps a housing bubble, perhaps a bond market bubble, because interest rates are so low. They can only go up, and when that happens, it is certain the bond prices will go down. There'll be a sell-off. So, and we were talking about this last night. There was one of my viewers is a banker, investment banker, who said, that he agrees with me, and he said the numbers he gave are even more frightening than the numbers you read in terms of the risk that these hedge funds have. So, Trump wine? Is there a Trump wine? I want to get that. I want him to win in 2024 and me to open up a bottle of Trump wine and just drink it. All right, let's go ahead. Jobless claims increased to 351,000 jobless claims last week. That surprised the analysts, like everything surprises the experts. All right, let's see here. So, a Georgia rally, Trump falsely claims Arizona audit found he was victorious in the county. Oh my God. This is the thing also, there's going to be diminishing returns to continually saying Trump lied about something when Democrats and media lie about so much. This is why people just roll their eyes. Even if he engages Trump in hyperbole or focuses on questions or anomalies or bizarre occurrences that media just says, it's not a big deal. The way Trump looks at Democrats is the way Democrats look at him, but they can't accept that kind of reciprocity, that kind of situation. Wow, Trump invites Marine who pulled baby over Kabul wall onto stage at rally prompting USA. Wow. Oh my God. What a picture. Oh my God. What a picture. My goodness. Ahead of tonight's Georgia rally in Perry, Georgia, organizers have crafted a makeshift memorial for the 13 service members who lost their lives in Kabul in August. Each chair contains an American flag and flower in honor of their memory. Wow. And it's like Democrats, media, they're focused on January, which was a tragedy. But this was like an even greater atrocity, far greater atrocity. And you have the majority of the people in January lost their lives supported Trump. So it's like they're all over the place. Media and Democrats are all over the place. Ladies and gentlemen, let's see here. Edward Socito, Edward. Who needs workers? Edward, thank you. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Edward, thank you so very, very much. Fifth Estate, thank you. Roger Rabbit, thank you. Edward, thank you so much for your support. Great pick. Looks like a pit bull. Edward, thank you. Great profile pic. Thank you, Edward. Thanks so much. Yes, Peter, enjoy The Big Lebowski. Love The Big Lebowski. Roger Rabbit, thank you so very much. Edward, thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very, very much, Edward. Ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm going to call it a night. Get some rest, everybody. God bless. To my super chat, Edward, Florida Man Bear, Chad, thank you so very much. And God bless you, Chad, and all the veterans of this country. Thank you so very, very much. Wendy, hello. Jay, hello. Thanks, everybody. Edward, thank you so very much. Ghost Dog, that's right. Thanks, everybody. I will see you tomorrow. I should have a live stream tomorrow at probably around 6:37 p.m. So be here at about 7 p.m. tomorrow, everyone. Thanks, everybody. God bless. To my super chat, thank you. Eric and Luke. Eric, thank you. Luke, thank you. I'll see you, everybody, tomorrow at about 7 p.m. Be here for the live stream. And also,